Call to order the Sylvania Township Board of Zoning Appeal hearing, and I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll take roll.
Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Mr. Schmucker?
Here.
Mr. Hilker?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Hayes?
Here. Okay, first thing I'm going to do and ask, might as well go ahead and do it now. Anybody that may be test located at 2309 Lost Creek Drive, and can we please get the staff report?
Yes. The applicants are seeking a variance of 10 feet from the required 40-foot rear setback in an A4 zone district as specified in Section 603 of the Sylvania Township Zoning Resolution in order to construct a single-family dwelling with an attached covered patio on the rear of the house. The subject property is an undeveloped corner lot in the Kings Hollow subdivision. As it is a corner lot, the property has two fronts, one facing north on Lost Creek Drive, the other facing east on the Lost Creek Drive cul-de-sac. The lot is an irregular, roughly rectangle-shaped lot with the longer sides running east-west. For aesthetic reasons, it is along this east-west tract that the applicants wish to line the new single-family dwelling. The building envelope permits up to 39.5 feet of depth on this lot. However, the applicants want to attach a covered patio 10 feet in width to the rear of the dwelling, leaving only 29.5 feet in width for the proposed dwelling. The proposed dwelling with covered patio can be sited to face toward the cul-de-sac. However, the applicants feel that this would not be as aesthetically pleasing to the overall appearance of the subdivision. The zoning staff appreciates the applicant's concern for the overall aesthetics of the subdivision and not just their subject property. However, staff recommends denial of this variance request due to the lack of hardship or exceptional circumstances. The required rear setback of 40 feet does not preclude the applicants from constructing a new single-family dwelling with attached covered patio, only from having the configuration that they desire. Staff contends that the applicants have other options allowing the building of a home on this property in keeping with the Sylvania Township zoning resolution. It is only the roof of the patio necessitating this variance request. An uncovered patio, just like a driveway or sidewalk, does not count as a structure and therefore is not subject to the setback requirements. The same proposed layout for the dwelling with an uncovered patio would fit into the building envelope. The layout and square footage of the dwelling itself can be reduced in order to accommodate the desired sized covered patio within the building envelope. Lastly, the township does not regulate aesthetics, and while not ideal, the dwelling with covered patio may be sited facing east toward the cul-de-sac.
Okay. Any questions yet from the board? If not, I'll ask if there's somebody here to speak on behalf of this matter, and we'll ask you to please sign in and then just state your name.
Good evening. I'm Don Kuhn. I'm the builder for the Bowlers who are trying to build the proposed residence. Appreciating that the rear yard requirement could be met turning this property, if they would go back to the original site plan, you would have to construct a house 39 feet wide in total to face the cul-de-sac, which would expose the rear yard and side yard of the entire house to all the neighbors across the street that look directly at this. And constructing the house 39 feet wide is, well, right now the folks have a desire for a 3-car garage, which is 32 of 39 feet, would leave me 7 foot of frontage for a home facing the other way. Even if they drop to a 2-car garage, we would be down to a 15 feet of width for the house adjacent to the garage. Also, because of this being an irregular lot, it's extremely hard to develop any plan. This lot has sat in a completely built-out subdivision over 10 years and has not been built because of the difficulty in laying the property out that worked in this configuration with the building lines. It was extremely hard to come up with a plan. We cannot reduce the footage facing this direction. We're at the minimum allowed by the architectural control of the subdivision. The subdivision's architectural control committee have a letter where they have approved the plan with the covered patio as shown. So they are supporting the variance for the covered patio to the rear. It is the last buildable lot in the subdivision, and again, it's sat there 10 years, and it's just extremely hard. It's a hardship to come up with a plan that works in 39 feet of depth. If you turn the house, exposing the rear and side yard to everybody coming up the street is a disservice to the township, and extremely difficult to build something 39 feet wide. So I think the logical thing is to have the house face Lost Creek, make use of the frontage, and provide a structure that works on a buildable lot in the subdivision.
Is there a minimum house size in that subdivision?
There's a minimum of a ranch of 2,000 feet, and we're 2,010 by putting a loft in our plan. And most of the homes in there range from, I would say, 2,000 to 3,200 square feet. But if you look even at the lot next door, you can barely see it to the left, but how it would face Lost Creek, it's a totally different configuration for the rear yard. This property also backs into 5 acres, 5 wooded acres, that's already built out and is basically landlocked, and you can see the distance from the rear yard back to the adjacent house, which enters off of Bancroft because of the depth of that lot. So that 5 acres lot behind it in the woods is basically landlocked, and it's not going to be impacted with anybody behind it. And I think that's a great picture of if the house turned to face the cul-de-sac, the exposure the rear and side yard would have as you drive up that street to the cul-de-sac. It would actually look like a mistake.
Isn't the thing that really drives the variance is putting on the covered patio?
It's strictly a covering for the patio, and again, it only loses the structure 49 feet deep in total, and only 10 foot would be the variance for the patio.
If they didn't enclose the patio, we wouldn't be here today.
Correct.
So there are other options?
Yep.
It's not all the way across the back.
No,
It's just that section.
it's just where the patio is.
And that's the side that hooks into that build-out.
If you see the little red rectangle,
Yes, okay.
that's the roof structure we want to put over the patio.
And then that, actually, if I was standing there looking out, I would look into that woods.
Correct.
All right.
Directly, as opposed to if we turn the house and you stand there and you put a patio out the back, first of all, you have a very narrow, skinny house, and you look at the side of the neighbor and up the road. I mean, there is a true hardship here in trying to design a property for that lot. It's why it sat there in a very nice subdivision 10 years unbuilt.
There are no sidewalls, are there, Don?
None. Strictly a roof structure,
Just
Dan.
gonna have some columns or something coming down.
A post on each corner of the roof structure. There's been, they're 8x8s, and there's been a picture of it submitted with the request.
Do we have that picture?
There were drawings submitted of the actual roof structure.
Like some, I couldn't tell if they were closed patios or open house.
They're up close.
Well, there's a side elevation, there's a side and a rear.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be
Watch yourself on them wires there. Them wires.
all over the place. There's the two side elevations, with just the post and open, and there's a rear elevation. And virtually, they just want to,
So there are no sides.
nope, there's two posts, you have a post on each corner, That would be the look from the rear, which I don't even think you'd notice it because we stay below the height of the existing roof. And it's just a small hip that ties in from the sides. Left side, right side, and rear.
Well, the thing about it is, like you said, the lot's set there for 10 years.
Well,
At least you got somebody wants to.
See, you know what 39-foot deep does, try
Oh,
to
yeah.
come up with a blueprint.
It's,
And hit the minimum footage requirements and something acceptable to the neighbors, which we've worked with and done.
yeah, that's what I was
Are
gonna
there
ask.
some enclosed patios within that already?
This is probably one of the smallest structures in there, and we're at the 39.5-foot maximum depth right now. We've used all the width and depth of the building envelope to be at the minimum, and they had to put a little loft upstairs to have footage, which people didn't even want.
Yeah.
But did an upstairs bonus.
No opposition from anybody.
Got an approval letter from the association.
We have that in the file? You had that?
We don't have it.
Can we see that?
It was dropped off there the other day, I don't know who. Becky, that works for me, drops it off, but
Derek, can you go back to the aerial?
there's the letter from the association.
That one?
Yeah, so everything behind the house
It's a woods,
is woods.
and it's a 5-acre landmark parcel with an already existing house. I think Mr. Schlachter may be familiar with
Is
it.
this another house back here?
Right.
Yeah, I actually lived there for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So you know it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, you really can't even see those houses behind you.
You can see everything else faces directly to the street. To turn this thing into 39, make a 39 by 80-foot deep house would be,
Is that wooden parcel there a common property?
no, it's a 5-acre parcel of land for the home behind it that enters from Bancroft, and it's landlocked.
Oh, okay, so it's not common property, something could happen down there?
No.
Well, nothing can happen, it's landlocked, it's a 5-acre parcel with a septic tank and a home built on it, with one entry. There it is right there.
So we're,
Mr. Amos, it's this property right here.
so we have an irregular shaped parcel that, you know, saying that there's an alternative for the patio is, I think the end result will be detrimental, which is one of the code, it will be detrimental to the neighbors. It's going to be so inconsistent with the rest of the look. They all face a certain direction, and this one's going to be completely backwards if you turn it.
And it's the last unbuilt parcel in there. It's not that these people are going to come in and ask for variances for the next house and the next house. This is it, and is actually sat vacant for 10 years.
Any other questions? I guess I will go say that, is this something we would like to discuss, or? Okay.
Is there anyone from the audience?
Yeah. Is there anyone else here who would like to comment on this matter? Okay, if not, we're gonna move forward and hear the other case, and then we're gonna discuss, we'll adjourn, then come back and take a vote tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. So, next item under new business, a variance request to reduce the parking spaces of 129 required to 81 provided for retail use for the property located at 5515 Monroe. We do want to go on record saying that when it was originally advertised, it was, I want to be clear, was it 74 provided?
74.
74, so they've actually increased the number provided, but we do want to go on record stating that what was advertised was different than what's being submitted here. But I think since they're providing even more, we're comfortable moving forward, and people would still have a chance to come here and comment. With that being said, can we get the staff report, please?
Yes. The applicant is seeking a variance from Section 2912, Commercial Uses of the Sylvania Township Zoning Resolution, requiring one off-street parking space per 200 square feet of gross floor area for a general retail use. ABC Warehouse currently owns the commercially zoned properties at 5501 and 5515 Monroe Street, as well as the undeveloped residentially zoned property at 4969 Whiteford Road. An ABC Warehouse appliance and electronics retail store is located on the 5515 Monroe Street property. Genera Banking Company has entered into an agreement to purchase the 5501 Monroe Street property from ABC Warehouse for the purpose of constructing a bank branch. Sylvania Township zoning resolution requires the amount of parking spaces for a financial institution to be 1 space per 400 square feet of gross floor area. The footprint of the proposed bank branch building will be 4,254 square feet, thus requiring 11 parking spaces. According to the proposed site plan, the lot will have 23 spaces, 12 more parking spaces than required. This proposed site plan will leave the parcel occupied by the ABC Warehouse store with 81 parking spaces. Per the Sylvania Township zoning resolution, a general retail store requires 1 space per 200 square feet of gross floor area. The existing store is 25,740 square feet, necessitating 129 parking spaces for this parcel. However, the applicant contends that this amount of parking is not needed for the current use of this property for 2 reasons. This ABC store serves as a warehouse hub for other ABCs in the area, and as such, approximately 10,000 square feet of the building is used for warehousing purposes and not retail activity. The Sylvania Township zoning resolution stipulates that warehouse uses have a minimum of 1 parking space per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area, plus 1 per business vehicle. ABC has no business vehicles, thus the applicant asserts that only 10 spaces are required for the warehouse portion of the lot. Second, the zoning resolution stipulates 1 parking space per 300 square feet of gross floor area for retail establishments over 50,000 square feet in area, that is big box stores. While this ABC store measures only 25,740 square feet, the applicant maintains that the character of the retail activity at this site warrants a lower parking ratio than that of typical retail activity. ABC sells primarily large home appliances and electronics and does not generate the amount of customer traffic that may be found at a general merchandise retailer, a grocery store, or an apparel store. Therefore, the applicant advances that the retail portion of the building, 15,740 square feet, should require only 1 parking space per 300 square feet of floor area, thus 53 spaces. These 53 spaces, along with the 10 spaces from the warehouse use of the building, brings the applicant's requested parking requirement to 63 parking spaces. As stated earlier, the proposed site plan would leave ABC Warehouse with 81 spaces. Additionally, Genoa Bank and ABC Warehouse intend to enter into a shared parking agreement which would allow customers and employees of either business to park on the other's lot. This agreement would create a usable parking area of 104 spaces for either business. It is noteworthy that the peak business hours of these 2 businesses offset one another, as the bank's primary customer traffic will be weekdays, whilst ABC Warehouse will be busiest evenings and weekends. The shared parking agreement is subject to approval by the Sylvania Township zoning manager in conjunction with the project plan review process. Lastly, ABC Warehouse also owns the .39-acre residentially zoned vacant lot at 4969 Whiteford Road. This wedge-shaped property is non-conforming to the Sylvania Township zoning resolution, as it is too narrow for the construction of a single-family dwelling in an RA zone district. If future commercial needs dictate, this parcel could be rezoned to C2 for additional parking spaces. Staff recommends approval of this variance request. Excess parking spaces create drainage issues, contribute to water pollution, and are a major factor to the urban heat island. Further, the adverse intensity of commercial activity on nearby residential properties is enhanced by these empty, flat, impervious surfaces that do little to mitigate the sights and sounds of the commercial businesses. Staff asserts that it is in the township's best interest to minimize any unnecessary and unwanted parking spaces within the township. While not the ideal pairing for shared parking, for example, an office building and a movie theater, the proposed shared parking agreement between the 2 parties offers relief to any parking constraints ABC Warehouse may experience. With 4 drive-through lanes, including the ATM lane, the bank is not expected to need much customer parking. If the ABC store or any future occupant of that building finds an increase in parking demands in the future, there are 2 options available. This proposed site plan will be required to go through the project plan review process. At that time, the zoning department intends to advocate for a cross-access agreement between ABC Warehouse and LD Incorporated, the adjoining property to the west of ABC at 5537 Monroe Street. Cross-access between these 2 properties could benefit ABC 2 ways in regards to parking. Customers of either business would be able to access the other's parking lot, and also if cross-access were in place, ABC's curb cut on Monroe Street, closest to Aldi, could be eliminated and additional parking spaces could be constructed in its place. Secondly, there's the undeveloped residential lot on Whiteford Road owned by ABC Warehouse. At this time, staff feels this property is best suited as is, that of a wooded buffer between the residential properties to the south and southwest and the commercial uses and traffic to the north and northeast. However, as this parcel is unbuildable as is, adjoins commercial property to the north and faces commercial property across Whiteford Road, it could reasonably be rezoned to C2 to accommodate the formation of at least 20 parking spaces. Who writes these long reports?
Wow. A novel.
I think you got your hands around it. Any questions so far?
Just, maybe there's no answer to this, we don't know the answer, because that's certainly been there for some time, and the township used to be next door at the fire station.
Right.
Is there any evidence that they've had difficulty with parking and sneaking over and parking in the fire department? There's no evidence we know we've had problems in
Not
the
that
past.
I've never heard.
I've traveled that daily for a lot of years.
I've never seen that lot full.
Yeah, I
I'm sure
think
they
if
come full, but I've
anything,
never seen it full.
I think if anything, the Aldi parking lot is probably actually closer. Somebody could park there and probably get into ABC closer than
Easier.
by the fire station. Or
I've shopped there,
Former
I've never
fires.
had trouble getting a parking spot.
Okay. We'll ask who wants to speak on the behalf of this matter, but one thing, I guess, in terms of us considering this, I've sort of asked that the focus be on what's stated in here about the warehouse versus retail versus the big box, because I don't think it meets the big box definition of the code here. The building's not big enough. So it had been suggested, and I guess I personally don't know how you can entertain that, because it doesn't meet our code's definition of a big box. Am I correct?
correct.
Okay.
Meets the definition of retail.
Well, it doesn't meet the size of a big
Right,
box.
right, based on the size of a box, so that, okay. Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of this matter? Come on up. I thought Gordy was going to be here.
Hello.
Hi.
Nate Zeckman, represent Genoa Bank. I just want to first thank you for considering our variance request at this time. As you can see, we believe the request is proper under the intent of the zoning regulations and the actual use and characteristics of the ABC building. Further, Genoa is excited about entering into the Sylvania Township business community, but it is necessary to make this happen for a Genoa build on the site property, on the site corner. I can answer any questions if you'd like, and there's another member. Jerry, would you like to speak? Okay.
I'm sure that Genoa Bank would be concerned if you thought the ABC was going to come over and park in your spots. So I assume you're not concerned on that. You've done studies and whatnot and are confident of the parking between the two?
They are very confident, though, as you heard, they will be entering into a shared parking agreement, so it's not so much concern. They don't think that ABC will be filling their lot at all time, or they wouldn't be entering into a shared parking agreement. Further, as to a study, ABC has done informal checks of the lot. In fact, I was explaining to Mr. Grouse that over a week period 2 weeks ago, they checked at 1 and at 5 for a number of cars in the lot, including employee and customer parking lot, and the max number over the course of the week of August 12th at 1 and 5 was 29 cars. So they averaged about 22 cars in the lot. So a parking lot with 83 and then an additional 23, sorry, I may have that number, would be sufficient.
That was during the week?
That was during the week, yes.
So weekends aren't much of a concern because Genoa doesn't have hours on the weekends?
Correct. Or very limited hours. It has not been determined if they will do a Saturday morning.
As with the bank coming in and obviously generating more regular traffic than the fire station did, has there been any consideration with the two curb cuts on the Grove Street to close one or consolidate or or relocate or any of that?
The bank is
one
cur-
being kind of close to the corner and the amount of traffic that's there.
Yes, actually, so you're aware there are 4 additional curb cuts actually on the site property that the fire station used. Those will all be closed. Then there are 2 more curb cuts on Monroe Street, one closer to the intersection, obviously one far away. The one closer to the intersection, Genoa Bank is working with ODOT to make sure that a plan to that curb cut, whether with some restrictions or not, is satisfactory to ODOT. So they are working on the one closer to the intersection with full access as of now on the one on Monroe Street, farther west of the intersection.
Yeah, it does, but I was curious with the parking. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Just a quick question on orientation.
Yes.
I'm looking at the site plan here. Where's the main entry to the branch? Is it on the west or the south side?
The branch, the proposed branch, as you can see, are you talking about like walking into the building?
Yeah.
You can see there's a door on the south side
Okay.
that accesses those spots to the south, and actually a green space that you can see just to the southeast of the door, and then a door on the north side, and then the drive-through lanes on the east.
Gotcha. So it's actually reversed from how the fire station was oriented. So it's
I'm sorry, I don't know how the fire
Correct,
station
yeah, it
is.
is, yeah, it is. Any other questions? No. Anybody else like to speak on behalf of this matter?
To your great pleasure, I'll be brief.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I represent ABC Warehouse, and we are in concurrence with the staff's recommendation and have no problem with the reduction in our parking spaces. To Mr. Helberg's point, if you look at this probably the way it should be looked at, a combination of warehouse and retail. I'm not good at math. That's why I became a lawyer, I think. But you come up with about 85 or 86 required spaces on our parking lot. We're only asking for a variance of 5 spaces on that basis. So I think under either scenario, I think the variance is justified based upon the staff's analysis. Thank you.
Do we have any confirmation on what they represented in terms of retail versus warehouse?
Well, the warehouse was 10,000
Right.
square feet.
I mean, I assume we're comfortable with that. I mean, having been in that store, I would imagine that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I walked around in it, but yeah,
That's the basis. I don't think they need any variance. I guess I'm trying to understand if we go by that, they need 11, and then they need 63, so a total of 74, and they're providing us 104.
right.
And they're providing, what I'm trying to understand is, if we go by this retail warehouse, is a variance needed, or are we able to do this? I mean, that's the only thing I've been trying to understand. If we go by that, does that still require a variance within our code? Or does that meet the code if we split it out by the retail and the warehouse? And that makes, I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else. I'm just trying to.
So what you're saying, if
Technically, they would change the use and they won't have warehouse in there. It could be all retail.
Right, right, so then you would be granting there, okay, that's a good point. Yeah, and that's, I guess, he's bringing up a very good point, because should they change the use and go all retail, then they would not have to come before us if they get a variance today. But I think as the space is being used, I don't think a variance is needed. So if that makes any sense to you folks.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the comment.
Okay.
I think that makes 2 of us.
I'm just, I guess if you go by code and you go by the usage of what's going on in that building, and you split it out, the warehouse, the 1 to per 1,000, and then you take the retail part of it, you meet the code. that's what I'm saying, so.
That's the way I understand it also.
Yeah, so I don't, I'm trying, the understanding is, as Tim pointed out, that you would be looking for a variance would be that you're getting a variance to strictly retail use. So if you change that and suddenly you say we need more store space, you don't need to come back here. But my point is, as it's being used now, I don't see where you need a variance.
I think really you need 85 spaces. I mean, that's, really you got one per 1,000 and 10,000, that's 10. Then 15,000 if you need 100 or 200.
53, you needed 63. And then
I think
No.
you need
74. 74 with the bank.
75, well, probably 76, 77,
Yeah.
plus the 10.
86. We only have 81.
Is there a calculator up there or an adding machine?
Well, got a smartphone, got calculators, huh?
Oh, we're getting into higher math.
What do you want to add?
No, I think
Yeah, what's his,
I thought I heard that the bank needs
15,000.
11 and they have 23.
By 200.
15,000, okay.
78.7,
I'm sorry?
78.7, 79,
So 79 plus 10 would be...
Oh, okay.
89.
Yeah, we need a variance.
Well, then where did I see the 53?
That was on the old one.
No, the 53 on the, the 53 is including big box space. The 53 is the combination of the warehouse plus the big box. I
Oh,
think
all
what
right, which is what I'm
you're saying, sir, is that it's
Okay.
your warehouse without big box.
If we took one space for 300
Okay.
square
All right,
feet
so
as opposed
53 is
to
not the right
200 square
number.
feet.
All right, sorry about that. All right, so it is 79, not 53. Okay, very good. Need a variance.
Okay.
That's why
Okay.
we're here.
Don't let Mr. Parker fool you about that math.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other questions or anyone else here to comment on this matter? If not, then we're going to go into session real quick here and have discussion and come back out and vote on that. Okay? We actually adjourned. We are back session, and we're going to, on the first variance request for 2309 Lost Creek Drive, I would entertain a motion at this point.
I would move that we accept the request for the property on 2309 Lost Creek Drive.
Second?
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Mr. Schweitzer,
Yes?
Mr. Becker.
Yes. Okay, that's it there. On the next one, despite my attempts to say there was no variance needed, I think we need to have a motion on the variance request to reduce the parking spaces of 129 required to 81 provided for retail use of the property located at 5515 Monroe Street. Again, understanding that the current use is all retail, which is why we would need a variance, even though what's being used there is split out, but it's been submitted and approved previously as all retail, so that's why we're moving forward with a variance request. Is there a motion?
I would propose a motion to accept the variance request at 5515 Monroe Street to allow a reduction in parking from 129 to 81 provided. Quick question on that. I assume that the cross-access easement is by default a part of that motion because they're tied in. I think the cross-access easement has to be part of this.
No, it doesn't. That, the cross-access, if it happens, will be part of the project plan review, which is their next step.
Okay.
It's not attached to this variance.
So the 81 spaces, just so I'm clear, are where? 81, and then with the cross-access, they'd have 103?
No, the cross-access doesn't figure into it.
But they've agreed to do it, I mean, we've been told that they agreed to do a shared parking.
Yes, the shared parking with the bank.
Or you were asking?
That's what I mean.
Shared
Shared
parking.
parking.
Yeah, that's going,
Yes, yes.
yeah, that is, that is a condition of this, that they're going to do a shared parking.
Yes.
Okay, but that's good that.
Confusing.
Cross-access meaning I don't know how you, we can save this for another day, but I don't know how you govern between a cross-access and a shared parking. If you have the right to park over there, then you have the right to.
Well, the cross-access agreement would be between Aldi and ABC Warehouse.
Right, what I'm saying is the agreement between Genoa and ABC is really a cross-access agreement.
And shared parking.
And shared parking. And you're defining that somewhere down the road it might be helpful to get Aldi involved.
Right.
Okay. So we'll back up to my original motion. Is it okay as stated?
And that's with the shared parking, cross-access between the bank and the ABC parcel. Okay.
Second.
Mr. Schlossberg?
Yes?
Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Helper?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next time, bring Gordy in for the presentation. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, good luck. There be no further business. Is there anything else? Yes, can I have a motion for adjournment? I'm sorry.
Move.
I didn't want to be kidding.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Schlossberg? Mr. Helper? Mr.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Use on your almost before the.
Yes, it was.